Hello, Elwin. Hello, Lydia. Thanks for being here on this Saturday afternoon or evening or morning, depending on where you are.
Elwin, are you in Innsbruck?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, nice. I've been there a few times. It's really beautiful.
Yes, I do like Jitsi, but having the raise your hand next to the reactions really feels like a UI mistake because so many people accidentally click it.
And also when it says someone would like to participate, it's so confusing. I'm like, does this mean they are not on the call? Like, what is going on?
So I've just been informed by our support team that the recording has started. So welcome everyone to Wikidata and Sister Projects Day 3. People are slowly coming in. So I'll just give a little preamble before we start the day's schedule. Once again, I'm your moderator and guide throughout this event, Tenny Benjerfield, and it's a real pleasure to have you here with us. The previous 2 days, we heard about how to use Wikidata in the other Wikimedia projects, and a couple of examples for transposing facts from Wikidata using the info box and data box into Wikipedia articles. We also had a look at how Wikidata has been incorporated into the Wikivoyage listing editor to help make more complete information for travelers. On the schedule today, we have 3 sessions planned. First of all, Olaf Simmons will first take the floor and show off the Beam Me Up tool, which might also be known as the Wikibase migrator. And that's going to show how to migrate entities into FactGrid, a Wikibase instance. And later on, Bodhisattva and Nicholas, they've prepared a presentation and a workshop for Wikisource and how 2 cool kids play together. After that, if the mood is willing, we'll play a few games and then we'll close today. And tomorrow you can join us again at 9 a.m. UTC for our final day. Just quickly before we get on, I'd just like to give another reminder if people would like to fill out the survey. Here you can scan a QR code or you can follow the link at the bottom and yeah, just fill out the questions. But again, it's open till June the 15th, so no worries, plenty of time. And this slide is available anytime in the public speaker docs on the Google Drive. So I think then I will introduce Olaf Simmons. And yeah, if you are ready to begin today's presentation or demo for FactGrid, I'm really looking forward to hearing about it.
Wonderful. I'm trying to share my screen, which should now work. You can see this presentation. I gave the link into the chat. Maybe, Danny, you can repeat that if that is in the history only, and so that the others can actually click it.
Absolutely.
I want to use that to bring FactGrid into the Wikibase community back again, where we actually started. And I give you a brief history before I come to that last point on my agenda, which is the Beam Me Up tool. I actually intend to just make it more available what we are doing and to get a bit of more awareness of the vicinity of the 2 projects. FactGrid actually started in a way before Wikidata started, because we had the developing team on our map here in Gotha. I was part of the Wikimedia movement since 2004, and I knew of the idea to get such a software going. So I was immediately interested in, if ever such a thing was developed, it should be usable in the humanities where I'm working. And in 2016, we were at a point where Wikimedia said you can now use that software and we will support that. What we wanted was a world in which we would be free of certain Wikimedia limitations. Most importantly, the Wikimedia notability criteria. You all know them. You can't create any sort of object on a Wikipedia. You need to have to observe certain notability criteria that this is actually vital and necessary information to give. And you also have original research limitations. We know where they are there. And I've been a Wikipedia admin for 10 years, and I know all the people with strange views who want to bring their own research on Wikipedia projects. I know why we have to object original research, but if you come from any field in the sciences, you want a platform where original research is actually invited and the core thing to do. And in that case, you will also try to avoid a neutral point of view agenda, because you're trying to have a view in your field and you personally want to push that view. So these three points of the Wikimedia rule system were something we wanted to avoid with our own instance of that software. Why did Wikimedia support us? Basically because they were eager to have a software roll out in 2016. Wikidata was growing massively, and no one knew how this would work if fields in the sciences would bring all their data into Wikidata, and whether these data would then be taken care of in the future. So the idea was that different fields that actually produce data should have their own wiki bases and use that software. And then the idea was that we create an environment of federated wiki bases in which Wikidata would become some kind of hub that knows of all the different wiki bases, and where you could use the Sparkle query service to get into these different wiki bases. And the idea was also for Wikidata that you could eventually quote FactGrid as a tool where information has its own sources, where researchers create the information and put their names on it. So you can actually quote FactGrid information which you couldn't initially produce on Wikidata. You could quote them as externally published in FactGrid. So these were, from my point of view, the three main targets why Wikimedia supported this. The entire project was extremely successful, more successful than I dreamed of. In 2018, we went online. In May, Lucas was able to get quick statements working because that was initially hardwired to Wikidata. And in June, we had a first session to learn how to use the machine. And by September, we had our own data in the machine, data on the Illuminati project. And at that time, the first projects knocked on our doors, asking us whether they should create their own wiki bases or use our installation. And there was a project on student corporations and a project on mesmerists that were both close to the initial project on Illuminati, which we had on FactGrid. So they could easily connect. And once they started connecting, that was something that took off in the academic field, with groups contacting us, asking us to test the software, and eventually they stayed on this platform. In 2020, we were contacted by the National Research Data Infrastructure of Germany, inviting us to become part of their future data infrastructure. And they were quite open why they choose us. They said, you took the path to the software which we all want to use. And presently we see a development of different consortia in the National Research Data Infrastructure who all create knowledge bases and who test wiki bases or even have them already. And FactGrid is in this case the oldest of these external wiki bases running in moderation, observed by the Wikidata team. We are funded for the first 5 years of the NFDI for Memory project. That's the project for the historical sciences, with 100,000 euros, which we bring into technical developments. And I'm personally funded by the same thing with my own salary coming now from the University of Halle. We have more than 600 users presently and have created some 1.3 million items. And looking backwards to 2018 or 2016, you might wonder whether our initial premises are still valid. Wikidata has developed and lots of academic projects are actually using Wikidata without taking care of notability criteria or of original research restrictions. My feeling is that Wikidata is no longer has no longer the same limitations as the regular Wikipedia projects, but this doesn't stop projects from knocking on our doors, especially in fields where you have sensitive data. It might be that we will have a huge project on Nazi persecution, and that's an area where we'll have sensitive data in masses with people who are in prison under dubious allegations, and there you don't want to have that in a public medium where anyone can add or change allegations, and so we're in that way a safe place for projects to use. What's special on FactGrid? The most special thing is probably that we don't have any vandalism. Basically, we don't have vandalism because you can't change data without an account, and the account is only given from within this project, but lots of people can actually give accounts. If you want to have an account, you must be ready to use your own name on your account. So this is my account. You can take a look at it. And it's a typical account. It's giving you brief information where I come from and where I have my office and where I can be contacted. And this is what all the others have. We are all real name accounts with contact information. And you also have to be ready to state your research interest. And that's also very different from Wikidata, where you can edit without being registered. In the beginning, we had lots of people contacting us who wanted to have accounts, and it turned out they wouldn't state what they want to do with that. And actually, they wanted to push the Google Graph with having items on themselves on FactGrid. And these things don't have a research interest and they don't get accounts. So if we take a look at the user, at the interface, it's pretty much like old Wikidata, but the special thing is that we have a project space where you have projects historically, alphabetically, and personally. If you have a project, you can create a project space for that, and we are not creating a full-blown map of all historical data like that. We're just creating projects and they start to interlock and they start to have overlaps, and that's how we're growing. There are some projects here which you might like to take a look at later on. I selected 3 of these. There's the Paris project, where you can actually get the entire map of Paris. I'm not sure what happens if I press this button, because it might be a thing. Oh, that works pretty fast. There should be more. There should be actually a map of all the houses, which I don't want to click at because that's 35,000. We have something similar with Leipzig going on presently, where you get for a single decade the entire map of Leipzig, not only all houses, but all flats. And you can see who's living in the flats and what rent they are paying and what taxation they are under and what jobs they have. This is a huge project. And again, I will just not click at these things because they will have loading time and with plenty of materials, but you can click at the different things to see what actually these projects are doing. A very, very big project, a project that is growing very fast, is our project on the landscape of concentration camps and such facilities. And again, there's lots of information that is available on Wikidata, but the difference here is that this is information brought together by different research teams and it accumulates to such a landscape. We are when compared to Wikidata, we are more project driven, and that's probably the main difference here. Let me get back to my page. There it is. Now I want to show you some of the tools we're presently developing. The first tool is Bruno Bellast's FactGrid Viewer. It's pretty much a tool like the Reasonator, which Markus Manskes produced, but it's also a bit different. The main difference is that it's taking the information straight from the database without a duplicate of information running in behind. So it's actually fresh information. If I change anything here, then the moment I refresh this visualization, you get the fresh data from FactGrid. And it's accumulating information. So you have Wikimedia Commons images here. It's putting OpenStreetMap in there. And in this case, it's creating a list of the people who were living in the house, which I've just clicked at. And we can do this to practically any kind of object that is on FactGrid, like the Dachau concentration camp. And again, you get lots of information that is on the item. You can put it into this visualizing tool. What else? The Entity Trap app you might know is working on Wikidata as well. We're presently negotiating with the team that developed it to use it. It's giving you genealogies, but we're not only using that for human genealogies, we are also using it for any kind of data that is nice to have. Like I can give you the genealogy of Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe, not the man, but the book. Let me see. That's the first edition of the first volume, and it's of course no information on the family, so I need to see another property, and here we get it. This edition of Robinson Crusoe is connected to other editions that stem from it, and you can use this tool to see how they are depending on each other. We also use the Entity app to show our data configurations, to show ontologies which we create. There are external tools. I don't click at this. You might take a look at that one. That's presently developing. It's a huge project in Berkeley and Portuguese and Spanish universities, bringing together 4 previous databases on medieval manuscripts. And the information is on FactGrid, and these are the 4 databases they had, but they are fusing these databases on FactGrid. And this is an interface that is acting on FactGrid information which we have and bringing this information into this interface. And as you see, there's no sign of the information coming from FactGrid. It's just their page. And that's actually what we want. We want projects to create their own interfaces and to present data they have on FactGrid as their own data. And now I come to the Beam Me Up tool. The Beam Me Up tool is presently the tool that is most used on FactGrid. And we have only developed it or received it. It's developed by Tim Holzheim a couple of months ago. And it's extremely nice to get information from Wikidata. Now I have a person. Let's see what this is. It's a Wikidata person. I have prepared that. Let me open Wikidata. There we are. I'm going to put in this person. Here we are. So I have no clue whether this person is already on FactGrid. I just want to have him on FactGrid. And instead of creating a database object with all the information, this is what we used to do. Take a look and then grab information one by one. We have this nice tool, and it allows us to use the ID in this case, and it's identified. And you can run a matching. So it takes a look into FactGrid, and it either augments an object if it finds that there is information on this object already on FactGrid, or it creates the objects. I click at it, and now it's created this object on FactGrid. And here you see the result. You have this item on FactGrid with lots of information that is actually the same. The reason why we can do this is because if we have a FactGrid property, that FactGrid property is connected to a Wikidata property. So that's what the the Beam Me Up tool is looking at. It's trying to find out which properties are matching. And then it does the same thing with all the objects that are interconnected. So like the object human being, that's Q7 in FactGrid. But when you scroll down, you can get to the responding Wikidata object, and that's Q5, and you can click at the tier. And now you're on Wikidata. And when you go down to FactGrid, let's see. And from Wikidata, you are also interconnected to FactGrid again. And this is what the Beam Me Up tool is checking before it starts doing work. It tries to figure out, is the object already existing on FactGrid? And if not, it creates it. And if it is existing, it checks which is new information and which is already on FactGrid, and it only adds new information from Wikidata. Extremely useful, saves us a lot of time, but also in some ways problematic because we do not always have the same idea of what information to take. But I show you some more of the features. I take another person just to see how it reacts on this person. And that's this one. And I feel, yes, I feel this is already existing. So it says augmented, and it's adding information now on it. The nice thing is that I can also use it to run an entire search. This is a search, show me all the people who are known to be inmates of Buchenwald concentration camp, and it says 2,311 people. I can grab the entire query, and I can go to the Beam Me Up tool and say, I want to use a query. It's necessary that the query uses the item because the items are created. So I can now run this Wikidata query through the Beam Me Up tool, and it should give me the same number of hits. And here we are. And you see it starts with the same two people which I just created. And I can say run a matching, and then I can start getting these people from FactGrid. I will just start it so that you see what it does. It's a bit longer, but it takes, we already have some 2,000 of these. I checked this before I started. So yeah, exactly. It's translating and it's augmenting and it's checking where our information is and what information standard we have. I'm not going into this right now. Basically, this is what I wanted to show you, and the Beam Me Up tool should be a tool which we should actually have in both directions. So far, we do it from Wikidata to FactGrid, but actually it would be interesting to use the same vice versa from FactGrid to Wikidata. You might talk to Tim, it's open source. You might find out how to adapt it. I feel it would be extremely useful to have it on both sides. Is it useful to grab information like 2,300 different inmates of Buchenwald for FactGrid? You might doubt that it makes sense to duplicate all this information, but I would say it's extremely useful because we can, am I on screen share or have I stopped it? I don't see it.
It stopped. If you wanted it to be stopped.
No, it's okay. Because we have projects that will give far more information. The Buchenwald team might actually consider to put several thousands of inmates into FactGrid. And in this case, it's going to be extremely useful to have the Wikidata set as a starting point. Wikidata is extremely useful information for us because it avoids record doubles. Once a thing has a Wikidata equivalent, the machine doesn't accept a second item on the same object. So that's usually where we start with, and a project has information on a thing. We ask Wikidata to give its information, and then the project doesn't start from the scratch, but uses that information as a starting point and adds its own information. That would be if Buchenwald wants to put some 40,000 Buchenwald inmates into the machine, it would start with the 2,000 we already would get from Wikidata, and it would use the data models it would find there and would add to the others. Basically, that's my talk. I'm lucky to get questions.
Great, thank you very much, Olaf. Yeah, does anyone, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat, or you can use the little hand icon and unmute your microphone. We'll take a few minutes, and then soon after that, we'll start the next session. Well, it must have been a fantastic talk.
Or a silence to roll with something confusing.
If people would like to learn more, can they just follow the link that is currently being shared, or
Absolutely. And they can also contact us if you have projects where you feel you can't run them on Wikidata. If you want to do your own family tree, you can do that on FactGrid. We invite this because the information is always at some point historical. So you can run extremely personal projects of your interest on FactGrid.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Hi. It was a really interesting presentation. Thank you so much. And my question is, making non-anonymous users, was this caused a diversity problem? So how diverse the user base? Because I assume that when we increase the anonymity, maybe diversity could, when we decrease it, diversity also could decrease. But did you observe such a situation?
Well, but mostly our users come from academic backgrounds. They need a machine for anything, starting from a seminar work where they want to have a certain visualization in their master's thesis or something like that, BA thesis, and then they go up to scientific projects that have 5 years funding, and all of these projects prefer a space where they are actually visible and to be quoted. They get personal items, everyone, so they can quote each other on information that is brought into the machine, and they have project items. I think it's even the first property that's going to move from FactGrid to Wikidata. It's the P131 property, research projects that contributed to this data set. I think you might have adopted it already. I saw an initiative for that a couple of weeks ago. And diversity, I think it's a very peaceful environment we are generating without the anonymity. An environment of far bigger trust where people contact each other if they find interesting information and where they cooperate because they know it's an email and they can have a video chat in the next minute with that person who created this information on an item they are interested in. So my feeling is it's less of a barrier, it's less anonymous, less frightening when you know anyone. And we also make sure that we don't have projects accounts. So even student assistants who are working in a big project, if the work is actually done by these student assistants, they are there with their names. And it's necessary for us if you want to inform a person that an upload doesn't really work the way they are doing it. I can see it on recent changes. So I need to be able to contact that student, whether female or male, who's just doing this. And that's the kind of thing where they all feel pretty comfortable
Really
about
like the emphasis about
in reach. Sorry?
Oh, I thought you were done because of internet issues probably, but I said, so that it's a feature because your community base is actually want to be visible, so they don't prefer to be anonymous in advance.
Yeah, and they have to be
you.
visible because they get money from state funding usually, or they are academic researchers and they want to be quoted.
Great, thank you, Neslihan. Then we should be shortly starting our next session with Nicholas and Bodhisattva. Gentlemen, if you're ready, I'm not sure who wants to share the screen then, because I think Bodhi is currently in the midst of a thunderstorm. Hello, Nicholas. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, just before we start, once again, a big hand and a thank you to Olaf for that introduction to Beam Me Up and FactGrid. So, Bodhi and Nicholas, if you would like to start, please be my guest.
Wave the mic, it works better. Presentation, yeah. Can you all see my screen? Hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So yeah, two sessions actually about Wikidata and Wikisource. First, we will do a presentation on what is already done and what is two cool kids playing together do cool things. I'm Nicolas Vigneron from the French Wikisource and a long-time Wikidatian, and I'm with Bodhi. Bodhi, can you talk quickly?
Hi, sorry, my things are like crazy going on here. Yeah, my name is Bodhi. I am from Bangla Wikisource. Yeah, that's me right now.
And the mic is working. I was checking. Perfect.
Yeah.
So first, quickly, what is Wikisource? You may recognize the logo with an iceberg, which is a pun for Gutenberg iceberg. So Wikisource is a wiki, so it's free and open platform, and it's an online digital library where we do transcription and proofreading of scans, facsimile of books, which are basically images, and we transform them into text to be more readable, more shareable, things like that. So it's a wiki, so it's a collaborative website. Everybody is taking part, doing what they like. And we are actually have 78 languages with their own Wikisource, 77, and one more Wikisource for all the other language, which act as an incubator. Basically, we have two types of content. We have a lot of content in Wikisource, from poem, books, fiction, non-fiction, everything. But basically, we have the text content, and we have all the metadata about this content. And this is where Wikidata is very useful, and we integrated deeply into Wikisource. So all the metadata. So we want the metadata to be, and we want it to be structured, because we want to find all the books by a person, all the books on a specific genre or thema or things like that, or on a specific period. So we did it by hand, but now it's mostly stored as Q items with identifiers on Wikidata. And we fetch everything from Wikidata on Wikisource and also on Commons. I will explain it a bit more. So why store them at Wikidata? As I said, it's a better place to centralize, obviously. It's better for searching and especially for querying. It can be Sparkle queries or other tools built on Wikidata, or API or things like that. Wikidata is the place for data. It allows, very importantly, to avoid every redundancy, because before Wikidata, the same data was put once on Commons, then on the page on Wikisource for the book, then on the page on Wikisource for the author, then on some other page, and again and again. It was not efficient, sometimes messy or inconsistent. So with Wikidata, it's all in one place, centralization. And we have regular updates, and we benefit from all the community checking things on Wikidata. And also you can do better visualization or everything you want to reuse, actually. So books, what is a book? Book can be quite complicated because when we say book, we can mean a lot of different things. It can be a book that I have in my hand right now, but it can be also several exemplars of the same book, and it can be, oh, have you ever read Shakespeare? Yeah, but what Shakespeare? It's more the intellectual idea of a book. So we had a lot of talks like 15 years ago, 13 years ago on Wikidata. And in the end, we chose to do the less complicated, but complicated enough data model. And basically, we took the FRBR model, functional record for bibliographical records, which has 4 levels: the work, the expression, manifestation, and item. Basically, item is the book, the physical book that you can take. It's very useful for libraries. Or is it already in stores or not? And then expression and manifestation is more or less the same. It's different. It's the set of all the same copies. So in FRBR, it's 2 levels. In BitFrame, it's only 1 level. So we said, oh, 1 is probably enough. And we called it version, edition, or translation. And then you have the upper level, which is the most intangible, intellectual one, which is all the written work. So for instance, you have an individual copy of War and Peace or Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet, whatever, that you own physically. And then you have, oh, but other people have the same copy as me, over libraries, over website, you can find the same. So it's what we call version, edition, translation, or expression manifestation. And then you have all the work for all the different version and translation. So you have a specific book in your hand. You have the book in French, it's the French translation, but there's also the English one, and English and French are tied up together with written work. So, and this is only the beginning. We put a simple slide on the show. If you follow the QR code to the Wikidata Books project, you can learn all the specificities and all the details. And oh, but I have one book, which is 1 book in French or 2 books in English. How do I deal with that? We have a solution, but I will do the general presentation right now. And if you want to know more, we will have time for questions during the workshop. So the important part is we don't use book. We have an item Wikidata for book in general, Q571, that we don't use because it's too general. We are not sure which level it is. It can be, when we say book, it's unclear. So in Wikidata, we do use only work literary for work, but mainly we will use version, edition, and translation, Q333189. Which is way clearer to say, oh, it's a physical set of same copies. And for more specifics, because I know that if you are here, you probably know a little bit about Wikidata. So we use properties, and the properties we use are what we expect to use for the data in Wikisource is obviously the big one, instance of. Author, language of work, title, translation, editor, publisher, and place of publication, and date of publication, which is specific to version edition. If you speak about a physical copy, you don't need the publication because all the copies have the same publication. It would be redundant. And if you speak about the work, You don't have publication because the work is not published, it's still an ID. Printing by edition number, obviously for edition volume, and very important for us on Wikisource is the document file on Wikimedia Commons, where you can see the file behind the text, and the Wikisource index page URL, so you can link to what we call the index of all the pages for a specific edition on Wikisource. So this is what we expect, but then there's the reality, and we see that I did a query, so it's fresh data from this morning for all language, and we see that we have almost more than 500,000 of instance of version edition translation, and you see that the property that we find the most are more or less what I said before: author, language author, title, publication date. But you see that very quickly we go very most of the work, most of the edition are missing information. Sometimes it's very important information, like for Wikisource. As I said, we care a lot about document file and comments on Wikisource index page at the bottom, and you see that, oh, we need way more than that. And so it's a big overview of what we have, and for most of this property, we want all of them to always be present, so we know that we still have a lot of work to do. Another way to look at it is we have a page on Wikidata project books, which is called Statistics Editions by Language, where we have, if you don't know this tool, it's called Integrality. And it's very useful to see, oh, for each language, we have this number of books I should not say book, version edition translation. And a lot of them have the title, which is good. Some of them have author, and you see that it's darker green when we are close to 100%. And for instance, in Swedish, half of them don't have an author. Oh, that's bad. We see it directly. It's very visual, place of publication, date of publication. And you see that the two that we care about on Wikisource, document file and comments, and index page, we are very, very low, except on Bangla, thanks to Bodhi and other people in the Bangla community, where we are close to 100%. And the property translation also is there. And we have other statistic page that you can look on the Wiki project books to know more about all of that. So as I said, the metadata is stored in several places, and so we have several items and several websites. So we have the main item is usually the work, which is linked to all the Wikipedia. For instance, Romeo and Juliet has an article in French, English, and a lot of languages. And sometimes we have also a page on Wikisource for Romeo and Juliet as, or War and Peace, or whatever, as a work. So usually this page is a list of edition of this work. And then with the property as edition in one way and edition of in the other way, we have an item on Wikidata for each of this edition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here it's just the number, but it will also be the edition in French, edition in English, first edition in English, second edition in English, etc., etc. And you imagine for big books like the Bible, Pinocchio, all the work by big author like Victor Hugo, Shakespeare, Cervantes, Goethe, whatever, you have a lot of editions. So it's very important to have each data in the right place. And each of the edition is linked, if it exists, to the corresponding text, where you can actually read the content in the main space of Wikisource. Again, it's a simplification and an ideal situation if everything goes right, but we are working on that, and most are done already. And there's other cases like periodical and newspapers, where we have the periodical itself, which has different volume, different issues, and then inside of it is the small articles. This is where we are getting closer to Wikisite and all the projects like that. And sometimes we have the text very, for all the publication like Science and Nature, which are 100 years old, we have the article which have their individual page on Wikisource also. And this is just an example for other things than regular books, but we have also models for manuscripts, which is not great. So maybe Olaf, we can talk about that and improve it, or anthology or novels or things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Buddy, maybe you can.
Yeah, thanks, Nicola. So as Nicola said, that the benefit of keeping all the data in Wikidata is like for better search and query. So as you know that in Wikisource or in other Wikimedia projects, most of our search and query depends on the search box, which is at the top of the of every Wikimedia sites, but that does not actually reflect the data, the structured data behind, mostly coming from the unstructured way of searching our contents. So we had, as we are storing all this data into Wikidata, we thought maybe we can build a tool which can actually search the data right from the Wikidata database. So we have built a library catalog thanks to Mahir Morshed, who is also present here. Mahir and I had worked on this tool, basically, which is a digital library catalog, because we believe that Wikisource is a digital library and every digital library should have a catalog. But unfortunately, we didn't have that before 2023. So we had built this one. This is only working for Bangla Wikisource. It is not available for other Wikisource. Maybe we can roll out at some point. So Nicholas, can you increase the resolution at the setting?
I don't know. Can I?
Yeah, there. Yeah, nice. Yeah. So so this library catalog has actually 5 features. Can you pause it for a minute? Yeah. So can you pause the video for a minute? Yeah. So this library catalog is dependent on like 5 filters and 4 functions and 2 operators. For now, it is like title, book, author of the book, edition of the book, publisher, and translator. These are the 5 filters for now. And there are contains, and there are 4 functions, which is like contains, text matches, exact matches, starts with and ends with. So suppose we want to search a book which has a title which contains the word Japan, and it will automatically, if I search it, it will give me the results. There are 8 results for now, which contains the title Japan in Bangla Wikisource. We can also sub-filter this book. We can run the video now. Nicola, you can run the video. Yeah. We can also sub-filter the search. So a next level of filtering depend on the different parameters. For example, the authors, you can search by authors, translators, editors, place of publication, form of works, genres, etc. So if you sub-filter one author, it will give you the result of one author, and if you unselect it, it will give you the results of other authors. So these are the sub-filters which I was talking about. You can also sub-filter by forms and genres of those books, which is actually stored in the work items, not in the editions items. And you can also add new filters. You can add as many filters as possible with operators and or. So suppose we are searching for the author whose title ends with Thakur, which is a common surname in our part of the region, and if I search it, it will sub-filter it quickly and it will give me the result which has the title, which has the author, which title has Thakur. So this tool is actually being built right now. It is still in the still in work in progress, and it is it has some mobile support. It is also, we are also trying to have a support for OPDS. Maybe some other export support will be there, and maybe at some point we will work on cool visualizations like graphs and integrate interactive graphs. Yeah, so next slide. So we are also launching an mobile app which is basically Wikidata based. The metadata is stored in Wikidata, and we are using that Wikidata based metadata searching for this app. We are using the Wikisource site link, and there is a specific badge, Wikidata badge, which is stored in this data, which is the proofread or validated badge, and the Wikisource index page URL. So with these three parameters, which we are searching for books which are already completed on Wikisource and has all kinds of metadata which are complete in Wikidata. The app is being built right now. It has faced one blocker right now, but we have figured out the way to bypass that. So maybe in 1 or 2 months, it will be available on Play Store. Next slide. So another benefit of keeping the data is avoiding redundancy. That means we store the data in one place and use it everyone. We do not use the data, we do not repeat the data everywhere, so that we do not have to follow the same mistakes, or we do not have to do that kind of use that kind of energy every time. So this is the commons template book template, which has a parameter called Wikidata. If you put the QID there, it will show something like this in the next slide. Something like this. It will fetch all the data from Wikidata, and it will give you all the parameters like authors, title, publisher, printers, etc. Similar thing, we have integrated Wikidata into index namespace of Wikisource. This is also available for French and Bangla and some other Wikisource, Farsi maybe, Farsi Indonesian Wikisource. So where we put the QID in one place, we do not add other parameters, we do not add the author, translator, etc. We just put the QID and it will show something like this in the next slide. Yeah, it will give me all the title, authors, place of publication, publishers, etc. So in other namespaces also. So this is the main namespace NS0 of Wikisource, where this data is being reflected as the name of the author, the picture of the author, or the picture of the translator, etc. There is another benefit for keeping the data in Wikidata is we can update the data easily. There is a tool for that, which is Listeria, but Listeria does not work for Wikisource for, like, it is not working for Wikisource for a few months now, maybe a year now. So we had to develop another tool, which is Talika. Talika is again developed by Mahir. So this is like same author, William Shakespeare, in French Wikisource and Bangla Wikisource. In French Wikisource, the data of the editions are added manually, so not using any Listeria or any other tools. Whereas in Bangla Wikisource, we are adding this data with the help of this list updating tool called Talika. So if I yeah, in the next slide, I am saying that this data, this is an author data, author namespace who has written all these books. So using Talika, we can filter the list based on the form of literary work, based on the uh, creative works, and all we can also store that all the editions uh, which is under that creative work in a very beautiful way, so that we can find it in an easy way. Um, this is another example of work namespace. Same thing. We are using Talika there. We are putting all the editions in one place of that work. We are also using Wikidata Infobox and other tools which are being used everywhere. Another example, publisher namespace. This is like we are using it in Bangla Wikisource, not available in other Wikisource, but anybody can use it. Similar thing, we are using the Talika tool for there. This is another example of updating data. We update the anniversary of authors whose pages are there in Bangla Wikisource. So the authors who was born or died in this date, that list is also generated. For another benefit is visualization. So we can put all the list of authors, or other list of female authors, or list of authors whose name starts with A or B or something else in a gallery form. This list is also generated by Talika. And we can also use maps. I guess there will be a session on that tomorrow, but we can also use that. This is the map of all the places where any book which is there in Bangla Wikisource was published. I guess that's it. We can also talk about the text part, not only the descriptive metadata part, but we have worked on some areas on that, like annotation, like integrating with Wikidata Lexeme through Luther, which has been developed by Asaf. There is a tool called Decotech, which is available in French Wikisource, but for now we are only focusing on descriptive metadata in this session. Any questions, or should we move to the workshop?
Great, thank you both so much. I wondered, yeah, maybe we could have a few questions and answers, and then move into the workshop phase. But I wondered if you wanted to share the screen with the QR code, so just for a few moments, so people could, yeah, get the link to the source.
Sure. Where is it again?
One question I had was that you mentioned that the tool's only available in Bangla at the moment. I was wondering what you would need to get that available in other languages.
So we developed it for Bangla because we had this specific workflow which is totally dependent on Wikidata. We are not putting any data we are not storing any data locally, but that is not true for other wiki sources. So Wikisource community is very diverse. So some community like English or other maybe German, they are storing the data locally on Wikisource. So it is not a need from all the community. We developed it because we had this need, but if someone wants to accept this workflow, then it's fine. We can work on that.
Yeah, and also not all Wikisource have exactly the same model. Like for the work namespace, sometimes it's a true namespace. Like in Italian Wikisource, we have a namespace for work, which is clear separation from edition, and sometimes it's on the main namespace, just a category. So you have some not so easy stuff to hard code and say, oh, in this Wikisource they are doing stuff like that, and with this Wikisource they are doing stuff like that. So it needs a bit of adaptation.
Great, thank you. When we were looking at the integrality dashboard, you pointed out how much more complete Bangla is in certain columns. Is that just through the dedicated efforts of passionate Wikimedians like Bodhi, or what could be done to bring that level of completeness to the other languages?
It's mostly Bodhi, thanks to him.
No, I actually I have stopped all my other Wikimedia related works like Commons and all those things. I am right now only focusing on Wikisource and this data part. So yeah, so that's what is reflected in there. But Mahir is also there, and without him, it would have not been possible.
Yeah. And again, not all Wikisource are at the same level. So Bangla is quite a big Wikisource already, but some are like Czech, Polish, French, English have a lot of works. So 10% is a lot more text than 10% in Welsh or Breton Wikisource, for instance. And Bangla Wikisource started right at the beginning, which is also better.
I see, thank you. We also had a question in the comments. Lydia was wondering if the problem with Listeria is known for Wikisource.
Yeah, so there's several problems with Listeria. It's not always reliable first. Sometimes it changes stuff for when data is not changed on Wikidata. Sometimes Listeria is acting up a little bit. And it has a specific formatting which is not exactly fit. Like the model, the hierarchy work and edition is something not understood by Listeria. Bodhi, you can say more a bit, maybe. Basically, it's good, but not enough for us.
I think it has stopped working not only for Wikisource but also for other projects. It is only working for Wikipedia Commons and Wikimedia Commons and Wikidata, but it is not working for other sister projects. So it is not only for us, I guess. We have to contact. There is a ticket for that in GitHub, or where the source code is for Magnus, but I guess he has not worked on it. So I'm not sure how this can be fixed, but I guess there will be some tweaks and it can be fixed easily, I guess, but it needs Magnus's attention.
And I see another question. Is it more of a priority to create Wikidata items for sources that have open text available? So if you say exactly open text, not so much, because Wikisource is more focused on public domain text, which are open, but not open license. And some people do work list. Oh, the books I want to proofread on Wikisource, they start doing it on Wikidata. I know that in French, we have a sub-project for feminism, putting text by female author, and they are doing the list before on Wikidata. But most of the time, we have a lot of metadata depth. We have a lot of data that we need to take care before. So it's more priority to solve the current problem right now, I would guess. And data from Commons also, because sometimes there's the book on Commons and it's not on the Wikisource or stuff like that. So there's a lot of things. And Romain is asking, is there a data model for version edition and translation in Wikidata related to Wikisource? A good example. I think the main page is good enough. And especially the model is good for all books. If it's on Wikisource or not, it's mostly the same. If it's on Wikisource, there's a site link and the two property file and comments and page index. But otherwise, it's exactly the same model. We don't want a specific model for Wikisource. It's already complicated enough. So if you look at the general model, Romain, it should be enough. And if we are talking about the model, and if you want to do it, we can do the workshop part. Oh, you want a showcase item? Okay. Now I understand. Yeah, the one that Body gave is a good. Any last question?
Yeah, any last questions? Now's the moment to ask. But I think maybe we'll take a few minutes break before we start the workshop, just for people to grab a drink or stretch their legs. So maybe at 10 minutes past the hour, we could meet back and begin the next portion.
In 5 minutes. Perfect.
In
See you
5.
soon.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Did you plan to share your screen and do some live editing, or did you have some examples to show off for the workshop portion?
Yeah, exactly. I will show some tricks how to do it more easily for like maybe 10 minutes, and then it's up to the people to do it themselves.
Okay.
To try, or just if they don't have ideas, they can just ask questions or things like that. It could be more discussion than a workshop. We can see.
Do you have any sort of blank items or articles or documents that people can work on, or like a testing area that people can work on without causing anything to go off fire?
Not a testing area. I should have thought of that, but we have some. I have a query, Sparkle query of things that people can improve on existing items already. So it's 10 already. I can guess I can share my screen for the one slide.
Sure. Yes, for anyone that's coming back, Nicholas and Body are going to have like a little workshop. We're going to have a great workshop for us with Wikisource, and yeah, just show us. Perhaps you could tell me, if people are completely new to Wikisource, is there some links to like primer information or how-tos or tutorials, or like a place where they can start to round out their knowledge?
Yeah, I guess the Wikidata project books is the best place to start. It can be a bit complex for beginners because there's a lot of information. And I guess there will be the recording of this session if you want to look it afterwards. So yeah, just a quick one slide for ideas of things that you can do around the project for books in general, and for me for Wikisource in particular, I would say, but it's the same principle in both cases. There's a lot of items that need to be created. There is no clear data on how many books have been published in the world, but it's something around 100 million, more or less. It's not clear. It's not always clear where, if it's two books are the same edition or not. So that's why it's complicated to count, especially for all books. And we know that we have around 500,000 of edition right now in Wikidata. So we know that we have a lot of items to create, around 100 million. Sorry, Lydia, for the servers, but there's a lot of items to create. You can create it manually like you do every time on Wikisource. That's not a problem. But there's a tool that I like, which is called Cradle, which is English, sorry. Basically, Cradle is a form to help you create a new item. So you go to Cradle Toolforge. Maybe Body, you can put URL in the chat. You have to log in first to say, oh, I'm connected to Wikidata. And then you have forms for everything from academic, researcher, actor, everything. And you have book edition, and basically you have all the label description, but then you have all the good property and only the good property that are here. So if you are a beginner and you don't know, oh, what property I should use, Cradle is a very good start. And also for old timers like me, sometimes I'm like, oh yes, there's title and subtitle. Oh, I'm in French again, sorry, in English. So there's a still in French for some reason. Title, subtitle, translator, things like that. I can forget sometimes, so it's always good to have it. And it's directly linked. So if I say, oh, the translator is John Smith, for instance, it found, should say, but all the John Smith on Wikidata, but for some reason the name is not appearing there. Okay, oh, I was too quick, sorry. And then when you filled all the parameter, there's a button to save at the top bottom, and yeah, you created a new item. The thing is, before creating an item, you need to be sure that it's not already been done, and you don't want to create a duplicate. But for most books, I don't know, 60–70% of books, of documents in Wikisource already have an item. So most of things around Wikisource. So you can just grab a book nearby, take a look at it, and oh, is it on Wikidata or not, and create it. And if you are like me, when you created it, you can put the Q item label at the bottom to say, oh, I did it. And you can reuse it more simply. So yeah, Cradle is a good tool for that. If you have ID suggestion, feel free to try it right now. And as I said, there's creation, and then there's reuse, improving existing item. And there's a lot of items that are missing important data. That was the slide that we had before with integrity, or this slide. You know that there's a lot missing author or language or title, which are pretty easy to add. So I did a first Sparkle query, which is there. Books on English Wikisource with no author. If you don't know Sparkle, just trust me. This is a book which is on English Wikisource and don't have a title. And you have a full page, not an author. And you can just go to the item and say, oh, a Ballad of Ducks. This is, oh, this is an example of thing that I ate, but sadly it's very common. There's nothing. There's just, oh, it's a version edition translation. I'm again in English, sorry. English. And you can just go to English Wikisource and see, oh, the author is Banjo Patterson, apparently. That's the first one, so I can add it very quickly. Author Banjo Patterson. Which one is it? That's always the question. This one is 8064. XT64, yeah, that's the one. Or add the language. So this one is in English and things like that. Sometimes people like Bodhi or me are doing automatic retrieval from information. Like, oh, if it's on the English Wikisource, the language is probably English. But then there's a lot of exception because books are all different. And sometimes you have bilingual books, you have books in English or Canadian English or British English or modern English, old English, middle English. And on Wikisource, it's not always obvious what it is. There is tools way to improve it, but there's still a lot of things to do by hand. You can look at, so this one, for instance, is from Australia. So I don't know English, if it's standard English or not. Seems pretty standard to me, but maybe the language should be Australian English. That's why it's important to have a community to take care of that. And yeah, but basically that's it. And if you don't know Sparkle, there's easy thing. You can take my query and change, for instance, instead of English Wikisource, you say FR for French Wikisource or D for German Wikisource, things like that. Same here, you can change the P30 and say title, and it will give all the books on German Wikisource with no title, for instance. So there's a lot of things like that where you can find item to improve. And I guess that's it for the general introduction. And if you have questions, so you shared Cradle, perfect. Is there any question? Do you want to try something?
Maybe you have an empty, yeah, another example that I could look at. I was trying to follow along with the Banjo Pedersen example.
Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry. So too many tabs.
So I see you. I think you put the name there as Andrew Barton Peterson. Oh,
yes,
Pedersen. There we go. Pedersen. That's why. But there they listed as Banjo. So does Banjo also fit under like under a different property, like a nickname, or also known as?
Yes, you have a property in qualifier under the name. I guess it's something like that. I will type it in French, sous le nom. Object named as subject. Subject, object, subject, object. And you can.
Is there no property for a pen name? Is that what it's called when an author writes under a different name?
Pseudonym, there's alias used by somebody. Or nickname. But is it a pen name? Is it a nickname? Oh, it says pen name. So yeah, I guess pen name is the best one. And for nickname, it's not very often used because reason, I don't know why. It's very used for when people have several pseudonyms, and like in French, very well-known author, which is called Romain Gary, and he published other books under the name Émile Ajar, which is totally different. So to know which book he published under which name, it's important to put it there. That's very interesting. And sometimes, yes, like people, sometimes they are writing Pollard's book, thrillers, under one name, and book for children under another name. So that could be useful to put it that way.
Great, thanks. Yeah, if anyone has any questions or wants to go through some other examples, please let us know. You could unmute your microphone or post in the chat. And whilst we're waiting for any of those to come up, I was wondering, since this is like an event where we look at Wikidata integrations to Wikimedia projects, if what we've seen today is like what represents like a perfect example of Wikidata, if it's 100%, or can you see other ways that Wikidata could be further integrated to Wikisource?
Bodhi, do you have a comment on that?
Maybe you have some wishes or dreams that we might see in the future or work towards, or maybe there's something that's not working perfectly right now, like we sort of mentioned with Listeria, that probably exists in a fabricated ticket somewhere.
I get, we want unicorns everywhere, so we have a lot of wishes. But which one are the most like Listeria is not working, was the problem, but now that we have Tikalac, we have a solution for that. Maybe it's not perfect, but at least it works. And the problem behind Listeria or Tikalac is the more general problem to do queries, to display queries in Wikimedia project, which was supposed to be the phase 3 of Wikidata 10 years ago. Wikidata query does that, but externally, we want it be displayed in it. And the more general but complicated problem is, documents are very heterogeneous. They are all different. So we want a magic tool to say, oh, this was cataloged as a book, but it's an edition, or no, it's a work, things like that. But that's library science. That's not easy.
Yeah, I have a wish actually.
Yeah,
so
go on. I know you have a wish.
No, but I mean, it's kind of an ambitious wish. Maybe I'm impractical. I don't know. So I wish that maybe we can somehow integrate Wikidata Lexeme with Wikisource, like in the textual content. So there is no way that, for now, there is no way that we can actually select a word and see if that is a noun or adjective, or if that is what is the what are the forms, or what is the meaning of that word, or what that word can translate into different languages, or what is the etymology, or whatever that is related to that data of that word. There is no way to do that. Wikidata lexeme is creating in one place, Wiktionary is creating in another place, Wikisource is creating in another place, but there is no way to link them together currently. But and we should also have to do it in a very cool way, like a very cool tool which can like give you all the colors, like these are the nouns and these are the adjectives and so on and so forth. And if you hover on it, it can give you a pop-up window of something. So these are the just imaginations. I am not sure if that can be technically possible, but if it is possible, then why not?
Yeah,
Sure. I think it's just a moment to speak it out and reach for the stars, you know.
yeah. And Bodhi was talking about lexeme, which is lexicographical data. So for text, it's an obvious one, but there are all the fields of name entity recognition, where you have a text which is speaking about a specific person or a specific place. And it would be cool to have a tool to recognize, oh, this is Paris in France, or this is Paris in things like that. So there's a lot of things. I know there's research and tools that have been tried for that, but yeah, like Bodhi says, in a robust way and more efficient way, that would be very cool, and that would bring more value to Wikisource, because Wikisource is basically just proofreading, and people want to know more. Like, oh, I want to know more about the place, about the people behind, what other stuff, increase discoverability, navigability, things like that. So, yeah, interconnection with Wikidata, more interconnection with Wikidata would be better.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, I think that was something I was going to follow, was like how can the communities become more interconnected or more close, come more closely together.
And one thing also is that some people are doing stuff like that, but by hand. Like annotation, they put a little template to say, oh, this is France in Q1 form 2 France. And you're like, no, there's probably a way to do it automatically to be more efficient, to not waste time, human time, on things obvious, and use human time to proofread books, and use the machine and the bots where they could be used. And I see that Maya is writing so many stuff in the chat about that. So yeah. A little script on Anchor, yeah, and things like that. Yeah. And Elwin is saying like a Google Dictionary Chrome extension that search the word and resolve the language and meaning. That's in a tool like that, which is mostly lexeme. Wikisource could be used as an example. So yeah, sure. And I know that there's people working on that. Like we know now that Google Translate or ChatGPT or any AI can do good translation, but when it's a very specific text, like Wikisource is all text, it could be good to have a manually better curated list. Yeah, Elwin, go on.
Yes. By the way, wonderful presentation. And yeah, actually, how it works is just an extension installed in Chrome, and then you click double to the word, and the word is searched on some websites. In this case, would go to the lexemes, check whether this is a language of English, Spanish, or any other language, and then return the gloss for this word, basically. And that's what Google Dictionary does in any website. So it just pops up a message under the word where you click it twice.
Yeah, it sounds very cool, and I will contact you later for that. Same for aussi one-click info, Lydia. That seems promising. It's almost half the hour, so one or two last quick questions.
Yeah, maybe I can ask a question. Who do you think benefits the most from the Wikisource project? Is it like is it inspired and mostly done for volunteers and community members, or is there scope for librarians or other professionals that get benefit from it?
That's not a small question, but yeah, but it depends a lot on the language. Like I know that in some language, Wikisource is a really activist act, like to preserve the language. I'm taking care of the Breton Wikisource, which is almost dead language, so that's a specific case. And obviously, English Wikisource has a lot of competitor online library, so it's not the same. I know that on some Wikisource also it's really used as a source for Wikipedia, for instance. So there's a direct use. There's a lot of case. There's also there's library a little bit, but archives. Archives very often don't have their own website for proofreading text, so they use Wikisource as a platform for proofreading. And there's so many other cases. So maybe Modi, you have 1 or 2 examples of usage of Wikisource.
Yeah, I can give 1 or 2 examples. I guess I have seen people from language technology are using Wikisource instead of Wikipedia, because Wikisource is like the proofread and transcripted part is mostly verifiable. You can check the scans and verify with the text. And so I have seen people from the language technology, like in IIT Delhi. I have seen I've seen in Jadavpur University. They are using the text maybe for building something new. And I have heard that people are using it for building LLM and SLM. There is a lot of traffic from outside of India on Bangla Wikisource. I am not sure why. There is a lot of spider which is visiting our website. Maybe that is because they are using it for AI. So yes, there are potentials. Not only the readers or the editors or volunteers. Outside of Wikimedia, there are lots of potential. Yes.
Great, thank you very much. So we just have past. I think we had about another half hour scheduled for the workshop. So if anyone has any questions, but if there aren't, people can recoup their time. That's not a problem. But please, if you do have any questions that you think of later that don't come to mind now, put them in the chat, and we'll make sure they get onto the Etherpad, and then maybe we can pose them to Bodhi or Nicholas later.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Nicholas and Bodhi, for the presentation.
Thank you.
Workshop.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
No, it's our pleasure. Thank you. So everyone, that kind of closes out the planned sessions we had today. If people are willing and spirit is strong, we could finish up the day by playing some games. I'm going to share with you the survey reminder once again, because I'd be very happy if you could give your thoughts. Do you see the screen?
Yes.
Oh, good, because for me it's just blank.
Indeed. You see a blank screen.
Oh, okay, you do see a blank screen. Let's try stop sharing that again.
You're right. You take care. It's supposed to be a game. Let's see.
Yeah, let's hope so. If I can get it working.
You're gonna play that game? You're going to play that game. You want to sit in a chair and play it?
No.
No, why not?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
There we go.
Let's see.
Yes, so everyone, if you could please take some time once again to fill out the survey, or only do it once if you've already filled it out. No need to fill it in again. I'll just leave this up for a few moments before I bring up one of the Wikidata games. But which one? That's the question. I think I want to play a little bit more Wiki Trivia. And for our technical support team, I think you can go ahead and end the recording there. Thank you very